This week on Wookie Drives, I finally get to drive a quote-unquote proper Subaru, a 2002 Subaru Impreza WRX, also known as the Bug-eyed WRX. This video has been a long time coming in more ways than one. First of all, this particular WRX itself. Friend of the show, NC Gearhead's roommate, purchased this car late last year, and they have slowly been fixing and upgrading it over the course of 2023. While it's still a work in progress, we finally had our schedules line up so I could finally have a go in it. But second of all, more notably for myself, this is just the second Subaru that I've featured on the channel in 110 Wookie Drives, and the first fun Subaru I've filmed. The other was a 2011 Outback in all its Asheville teacher spec glory. But while that Outback was a quirky addition to the channel, the WRX is a legend in the car world for it helping to popularize the homologation rally car for the enthusiast market. The WRX is so important for Subaru that it's since been split off from the Impreza it formerly was based on, and is Subaru's pinnacle of its performance lineup. Subaru's participation in the World Rally Championship dates all the way back to 1980, but it was the formation of the Subaru World Rally team with famed British motorsports team ProDrive when Subaru's rally legend took off. Although they were campaigning mid-sized legacies at the time, Subaru would introduce a rally-inspired package in Japan in 1992 for its Impreza Compact, the WRX. WRX, of course, stood for World Rally Experimental, and would boil down to three major upgrades over the normal Impreza: a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, a stiffer suspension with dirt road shenanigans in mind, and all-wheel drive. Subaru would also offer a stripped-down version aimed at amateur rally racers, the Type RA, and would kick things up again in 1994 with the introduction of the STI. America never got the original WRX, but a whole generation of kids and enthusiasts would get a taste of the hot little car in Gran Turismo. And like the Nissan GT-R and the Honda Civic Type R, the legend of the WRX would form a groundswell of demand, and in 2002, the Subaru WRX would finally be available in the United States. The second generation Subaru Impreza would launch onto the world stage for the 2000 model year, and followed in 2001 in the United States. But it was in 2002 when the WRX would finally land in our dealerships. With its aggressive body kit, big ol' hood scoop and wing, the bug-eyed WRX burst onto the American enthusiast market at exactly the right time. Not only had the first generation WRX's legend had built thanks to Gran Turismo in the late 90s, but 2001's The Fast and the Furious had created a fever pitch for Japanese tuner cars, and the WRX fit that bill quite well. While the previous hot Impreza was the 2.5 RS, that model really only amounted to being a lookalike, sharing a cool body kit in the wing of the overseas WRX, but not its turbo flat 4. But here it was, the WRX in the legendary turbo engine that us Americans hadn't previously been privy to. Under the hood of this 2002 Impreza WRX would be the legendary 2-liter EJ25 turbo flat 4. Producing a factory output of 227 horsepower and 217 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. Power is then sent to either a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual, like in this car, and then sent to all four wheels via Subaru's variable torque distribution all-wheel drive. This system was electronically controlled and provided a 45-55 power split between the front and rear. In the rear was a viscous coupler limited slip diff, and early 2002 models even got aluminum brake ducts like in a race car. Front brakes are 2-piston while the rear is single, and the front has ventilated discs. And finally, the WRX would be available in both sedan and wagon variants. Styling, of course, is typical Subaru weird, but that's what everyone came to love about Subaru. Subaru, until very recently, was a very quirky and weird brand that was continuing to punch above its weight. Their early performance cars, the XT and SVX, were absolute weirdos that flopped mightily in their time, but Subaru would go on to be one of the first brands that would make all-wheel drive available all across its lineup, making it a popular option for people in northern climates who wanted the capability of all-wheel drive in the snow, but didn't want to go for a truck or an SUV. And the initial run of the second generation Impreza would be no different with its weirdness. Just look at it. One look quickly tells you why this era of Impreza and WRX are affectionately known as bug eyes. The first refresh was launched in 2003, being named by enthusiasts as the Blob Eye, while the final refresh in 2006 would be affectionately known as Hawkeyes. But the original bug eye has all the charm of when Subaru was still weird and not pumping out Momobile crossovers that blend into the scenery. Alright, now that we've opened up with a little bit of a background behind the Subaru WRX, let's talk about this particular 2002 Subaru Impreza WRX. This WRX has been a nearly year-long project of friend of the show, Brian of the Instagram pages NC Gearhead and Carolina Roots Photography. This bug eye happens to be his roommate Jessica's, but Brian has quietly helped him fix and modify her fun little compact since she got it at the end of 2022. She purchased it from an Army veteran in Savannah, Georgia, and they road-tripped it home and soon got to work. And that previous owner's personality is represented by these neat little badges on the trunk lid. These are Subaru badges of ownership, and you'll see them on many Subarus from WRXs to Ascents. They give your flare a little OEM legitimacy over that of stickers. So let's explain what you're seeing here. The fifth represents that this was the past owner's fifth Subaru. The salute and serviceman is pretty self-explanatory as it represents the military or being a veteran. The wrench and the gear represent mechanical. The cross-checkered flags represent performance. And the final badge is for rallycross. Just a neat little personalization touch that Subaru does over other brands. Alright, now that we've explained that, let's talk mods, because of course this WRX has them. NVIDIA N100 exhaust, unequal length headers, white line adjustable lateral links and sway bar end links in the rear, K-Sport gravel spec rally coilovers that produce 9 inches of travel. They've replaced the shifter bushings, Cobb short throw shifter, a primitive roof scoop and vent. This is actually my favorite mod of all. 4 new brake calipers and rotors, Hawks HPS 5.0 brake pads, GFP response blow-off valve, a top-mounted intercooler off of an STI, conservative tune, and an IAG skid plate. They've also stripped the interior, and as a result, they've knocked out around 200 pounds of total weight. On the road, it's a fun and weird little car. Now, I only got to drive it around Matthews, North Carolina, which doesn't exactly have the best roads to test this car's dynamics, as it's mostly suburban sprawl. But in my drive, I got the gist of it. The EJ25 is a torquey little engine, and that makes it an incredibly easy stick-shift car to operate. Like, I've mentioned rookie-proof manual cars before, but this was probably up there on cars that did not like to stall easily, they just chugged along. That being said, it did feel long-legged. All the power is definitely at the higher end, which means that suburban driving is definitely not this car's strong suit. The coilovers do soak up the beat tarmac nicely, as well as the speed bumps, and the steering of the Bug-Eye WRX is absolutely phenomenal. The couple of times I was able to hammer down into hard braking for a sharp corner, it would absolutely carve up the road. It just felt right, like the caster settings were just... It just tracked where you wanted it to go just perfectly. It's hard to describe unless you've driven something that's tuned really well on an alignment rack, but there's that nice sweet spot of caster and there's no slop in the steering or anything, so it feels just good. But the EJ's power up top, just around town and city driving, it just kind of feels sluggish at low speeds. It certainly makes a lot of noise. It's definitely something I would probably enjoy more if I was able to hammer down on the backcountry Iredell County roads I've grown to love over the last decade. Okay, the roof scoop is a neat thing that really adds to the race car feel of it, and it actually provides excellent cooling to the car when you're traveling on a hot day, so you don't have to rely on the air conditioning as much. Much like the NACA ducts we'd use on Xfinity cars that directed air via hoses towards our drivers, that movement of air lowers the ambient temperature to the driver a lot, and it is an added plus. It also helps that the lever itself is fun and easy to operate as it clangs and clinks satisfyingly, just chimpanzee brain really like. The only other thing that really got to me is that the short throw shifter took me some getting used to. I kept on trying to drive it like a truck, and the gears being close together and slightly to the right threw me off just a bit. I wanted first to be over to the left more than it actually was, and it all kind of crossed me up when I was trying to shift into first or third quickly, but overall, a mildly modded Bug-Eye WRX is a fantastic little runabout that's definitely at home on back roads, not suburban roads like these. And finally, the only real issue with this car at the time of recording is that on hot days, the throttle currently likes to hang at around 2,000 to 3,000 RPMs. At the time of filming, Brian thought it was a common Subaru issue, in that the cruise control cable likes to catch when things are hot on these older period Subarus. The simple fix is simply delete the cruise control cable, and with this just being a fun second car that almost never sees the highway, losing cruise was not a big issue for them. But since doing the delete since filming, it's still hanging, and Brian has now narrowed it down to a major vacuum leak that opens up when the engine bay gets real hot. An annoying issue for sure, and the one thing that's really holding this car back. Park goers and people doing yoga really didn't enjoy the EJ25 and its NVIDIA exhaust screaming at 3,000 RPM, and there was nothing we could really do about it at the time. And finally, just everything in the interior, like all the switches and gears, they got a nice heft to it, just almost period Volkswagen-like. I just really enjoyed it. Nothing felt light or cheap in here. The Impreza WRX would get a third generation in 2007, before the WRX itself would be split from the Impreza line in 2014, as the WRX would grow into its own unique sports car separate, but descended from the lowly Impreza. The current one is certainly bringing back the weird with its large stance and plastic body cladding to make a Chevrolet Avalanche proud. Like the Mustang to Ford or the Corvette to Chevrolet, the WRX has become Subaru's performance pinnacle of its lineup. And all of that started here with the original Bug-Eye in 2002 in the United States. It launched at absolutely the right time thanks to the first gen's legendary status through Gran Turismo, Colin McRae doing insane things in them in the 90s and the WRC, and the Fast and the Furious created an enthusiast fever pitch for Japanese tuner cars. It was such a success that Subaru's biggest WRC competitor at the time, Mitsubishi, would immediately respond and finally bring its Lancer Evolution to the United States the following year, creating a rally car rivalry that I would argue would be akin to that of the Mustang versus Camaro. The Bug-Eye WRX was not just an important car for Subaru in legitimizing its performance cred for the American buyer, but also to the enthusiast car market as a whole, as it opened up a whole new segment for rally-inspired performance cars, which still lives on today through the WRX and the GR Corolla. 2002 Subaru Impreza WRX. Such a legend that I didn't even make any vaping or monster jokes in this video. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you once again for watching another episode of Wookie Drives. Huge shout out to Brian of Pineville, North Carolina for letting me drive his roommate's project car for this video. I'll be sure to link Brian's links on the screen right now, and as well as in the description of this video. If you have a car or truck you'd like to see on the show and happen to be in the Mooresville or Charlotte, North Carolina area, submit your car to wookiedrives@gmail.com. That's right, submit your car to wookiedrives@gmail.com. That's wookiedrives@gmail.com. Be sure to give the video a like, drop a comment with some feedback. Any sort of interaction with this video really helps small channels like mine grow in the algorithm. Share with all your flat bill cap WRX friends. And finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for more Wookie Drives like these. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.
With full-time all-wheel drive, the new Subaru WRX stays glued to the road. With a turbocharged 227 horsepower boxer engine, you'll swear you're flying. That's the beauty of Subaru all-wheel drive.